And for more on our big story, of course, I'm joined by Bryn Weese, our Washington bureau chief in Washington tonight, of course. Bryn, what's going on with the fiscal cliff? Are we anywhere near it or further away from it?
Well, David, as you mentioned, President Obama is going to go look for it in Pennsylvania on Friday. He's going to be touring a toy factory there, really trying to highlight the businesses and workers that are at stake in this fiscal cliff negotiations. According to the White House, this trip on Friday is going to be furthering the public effort. Quote, on Friday, the president will travel to Montgomery County, Pennsylvania, to continue making the public case for action by visiting a business that depends on middle-class consumers during the holiday season and could be impacted if taxes go up on 98% of Americans at the end of the year. That's according to a White House statement from earlier today. And of course, this does continue the public pressure the Democrats are trying to place on Republicans to have them cave on the tax issue. Because as we know, one of the major sticking points here, Democrats want tax rates to go up for the wealthiest Americans, those who make over $250,000 a year. And Republicans want to keep taxes low for everybody, saying it would be better for the economy. And that in turn would boost government revenues to help deal with the deficit and the debt. Now, President Obama is taking heat because although he's meeting with small business owners, even middle-class Americans this week, and touring the toy factory, he has not scheduled any meetings with congressional leaders. And this has some Republicans concerned and perhaps hinting that Obama isn't ready to play ball and he might be winding down the clock before actually getting to business on fiscal cliff negotiations. Earlier today in the Senate, Mitch McConnell said, although Obama's a good campaigner, he really should be meeting with Boehner and others behind closed doors. Watch this.
I read this morning that the president plans to hit the road next week to drum up support for his own personal approach to the short and long-term fiscal challenges we face. In other words, rather than sitting down with lawmakers of both parties and working out an agreement, he's back on the campaign trail, presumably with the same old talking points that we're all quite familiar with. Look, we already know the president's a very good campaigner. We congratulate him on his reelection. What we don't know is whether he has the leadership qualities necessary to lead his party to a bipartisan agreement on big issues like we currently face.
Now, David, really President Obama is doubling down on a warning we got from the White House earlier this week that if the country goes over the fiscal cliff, consumer spending would be hit hard and would fall 1.7 percentage points next year. This, of course, coming off the heels of a very successful Thanksgiving shopping weekend. So he may be using Christmas, perhaps, as a way of increasing pressure on Republicans to cave on that tax issue. Now, earlier today, Jay Carney, a White House spokesperson, he said the president does have a plan that would deal with the deficit, and it's Republicans who refuse to accept it or who refuse even to use it as the basis for negotiations. Earlier today in the White House, Jay Carney addressed reporters saying the president does have a plan, and that's what he's trying to sell when he goes to Pennsylvania. Watch this.
The president has on the table a proposal that reduces the deficit by $4 trillion, that does so in a balanced way, that includes substantial cuts to discretionary non-defense spending, over $1 trillion, that includes revenue and includes $340 billion in savings from our healthcare entitlement programs. That is substance. So he has not waited for people to start smelling the jet fumes at National Airport. He has actively put forward a plan.
Now, David, we've talked earlier about how many Republicans seem willing to concede the issue of tax revenues, perhaps by closing certain loopholes and capping deductions, that would bring in more revenues. Democrats, though, seem intent on raising the top tax rates for the wealthiest Americans. Even Warren Buffett has suggested perhaps raising it only for those who make over $500,000 a year. So we'll see how negotiations proceed, but certainly President Barack Obama seems more interested in playing the public card and trying to increase public pressure rather than doing some of the nitty-gritty work behind closed doors around a negotiating table. So we'll see how things develop in the coming days.
And this, Bryn, was an issue for Obama during the campaign. There were Democrats who said that Obama did not like to do the up close and personal, shake the hands with the donor base for the Democrats, that he prefers to sort of be aloof, be on his own. And sure enough, we're seeing, it's a lot more fun to go out in the campaign trail, give a big speech, have people cheer what you're saying, than sit in a closed door with Mitch McConnell and the Republicans. But that seems to me to be the work that sort of lies ahead. That's what Obama has got to do at some point, sit around and press the flesh with people.
Yeah, that's right, David. This is a common criticism of President Obama for being aloof, out of touch, not participating in the so-called Washington backslapping parties and late-night drinks with fellow lawmakers in Congress. This is something that has come up before. It came up during the campaign, as you pointed out, and it seems to be coming up again because he's taking criticism now for not getting down to the nitty-gritty of negotiating a deal. Now, as we heard from Jay Carney just in that earlier clip, they say the president has a plan, he's put it forward, and it's Republicans who don't want to play ball with him. But really, this is going to come down now. We're running out of time. And Americans, certainly we've seen in the polls, are losing faith in their lawmakers' ability to actually hash out an agreement here. And the fact that the president's going to a toy factory, playing on the Christmas card, trying to drum up public pressure in what is clearly a campaign-style event, something that he enjoys and is quite good at, it might not reassure Americans that their lawmakers are actually getting down to business. And it's rare that you'd see Mitch McConnell, of course, saying, come on, Mr. President, we need to meet, and we need to meet soon to come to some sort of bipartisan agreement. That's coming from Mitch McConnell, someone who is generally not known for reaching out for bipartisan agreements.
Yeah, Bryn Weese in Washington right now. Bryn will be back a little later on the show. Thank you for this, Bryn.
Thanks, David.